This week I'm going to show you how to make a Color Me card, and this is using the Ebony Color Me pack. It's called Nostalgia, and this is the second Ebony set we've done that Hot Off the Press has produced, but it's full of fun mementos and patterns. So this is one of the sheets in the pack, has this design on it. Here's the inside of the card, so surprise, I covered it with suede paper, but you can stamp and write on this, I checked, preferably with a permanent fine tip marker. But let me show you some of the materials I used and then we'll get started on the card. The main items in this week's project include the steampunk ribbon set, the sienna suede paper, so it's kind of a burnt sienna shade. I'm not sure if the camera is picking up correctly. The color of it's really rich reddish brown. And of course the Color Me Ebony Nostalgia paper pack, which includes these 6 sheets. So let's get started. As usual, I'm starting with my 6.5 inch by 5 inch blank white card, and I'm gonna use the postcard corner paper to cover the front of it. I'm gonna place my card, I want it to include the butterfly and the postcard, so I'm going to place it right about here. And this way I can trace around it with a pencil and just simply cut out that shape. Now I have this Ebony Color Me piece of paper sized perfectly for the front of my card. I'm not going to glue it on just yet because I want to color it first, and in case I make a mistake I don't want it already glued onto the front of my card. So I'm going to set the card aside first, and I'm going to get ready to color my piece here with some scratch paper. And I also have a small paintbrush, an acrylic block, but any kind of smooth plastic surface will do, and a set of ink pads, and this is the Colorbox Paintbox Chalk ink pad set, and it's the Autumn Pastel collection. Now these color labels on the back, I did those myself just as a reminder what colors they look like on paper, and I just used those small address labels and covered each one with the ink in the pad, so it's kind of a convenient way to label, especially if you store your ink pads upside down so that the ink runs towards the surface of the ink pad. And just to show you, these come out individually, so you can use them direct to paper separately, or I like to use them with a cosmetic wedge. So I'm going to use them primarily with cosmetic wedges and with the paintbrush method. I'm going to go ahead and start by coloring in some of the leaves of the flowers here. So to do the paintbrush method, you're going to take your ink pad, I'm taking the olive green here, olive pastel, and just dabbing it on your acrylic block or whatever surface that you choose to use as your palette. And I can stick that right back in its place. Set that aside. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush, and it's helpful to have a cup of water handy if you want to make your ink go a longer way. But basically you just pick up some color and start painting. So here's my finished colored card front, and I'm just gonna give you a closer look to take a look at some of the colors I used. I'm just going to turn this over so you can see the color names. Starting up here, I've got some olive pastel around the swirls, as well as on the leaves. In the centers of the flowers, I've put yellow cadmium. For the postcard, this thin border here is burnt sienna. And the background, the main background of the postcard is creamy brown, and the way I got the different variations in shade here is by adding water. You don't want to make it too watery so that it kind of buckles your paper or, you know, soaks through, but just a little bit and you'll get a nice kind of variegated shading here. And then the branch here is of course the dark brown. I filled in this border with dark brown burnt sienna. The little leaves I put in olive pastel. And then the little areas in between these things here, I've got a combination of the deep green starting at the bottom and then the dark moss towards the top. As you can kind of see, there's a variation there. And then the butterfly, I did a mixture of yellow cadmium, amber clay, and burnt sienna. And the stamp here I did with the dark moss and just filling out select portions. It's really important to clean your brush thoroughly between using colors, different colors, so that you don't contaminate your different colors, especially if you use a dark color and then you're using a light color. It's really easy to get that dark color onto the ink pad. But if you accidentally do that, don't worry, just try and dab it off with a clean paper towel. Alright, so I've got my front of my card done here, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it onto my card. Now I want to add a touch of this pretty burnt sienna or sienna suede paper on my card, so I'm going to cover this top corner with the suede paper. And I'm just going to place it where I think it would look nice, covering that corner, then hold it to the card. Flip both sheets over, still holding. And then I'm going to trace with a pencil the card onto the back of the suede paper, cut out that resulting triangle, and simply glue that onto the front. I've got some ribbon that I think would really look nice on top of the suede, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this right about here. This is going to go on top of it, and I'm going to attach this with the zips, the adhesive lines. So I've got the zips right here, and I'm just going to cut off a piece, and you can kind of see the sticky strip. I don't know if you can see the sticky strip on there, but I'm going to place it face down on the edge of the suede paper, press down nice and hard, and then peel off the backing. Then I'm going to place my ribbon right about there. So I'm going to make sure that's nice and stuck to the zip piece. Same thing with the other side. Let's see where this ribbon is going. Place it, press down, and then I'll attach the ribbon and then trim off the excess. Now for the skinny ribbon. So I want there to be a bow in the center of the suede here. So I'm going to take the two ends of this long ribbon and I'm going to tie a simple knot and just tie a bow. So just like you tie your shoe. And I'm trying to hold all the ends here. But it's going to take some adjusting to get the bow just right. I think I'll make the bow a little bit smaller. Then I'll trim the ends and I'll go ahead and stick it to the card right about there. This time I'm using a long strip of zips to go across the center of this ribbon to adhere this bow along there. Stick it down right about there. Just flip it over and trim off carefully the edges. There we go. And then I'll trim the edges of the bow just a tad. Perfect. And now we're done with our card front. For the inside of the card, what I'm going to do is take this corner, put it in the bottom left-hand corner here. So I'm going to measure out how much I need for the inside and go ahead and cut out that size piece, but I'm not going to glue it in just yet. So So here's what my piece looks like. Now I know the handwriting is upside down, but we're gonna cut off most of that, so it's not gonna matter too much. So what I'm going to do now is cut around the design right here, just leaving a narrow border. So it'll go around here, and that's what I'll use on the inside. Now I've got this piece here, and I'm going to color it just like I did the front with the paintbrush and the ink pads. So here's the finished piece, and the only difference in colors between this and the front is that for the background here I've used, not left it blank, but I've used the yellow cadmium, which is this last color here. So back to the card, on the inside I went ahead and covered the inside with suede paper, and I don't usually use a whole block of suede paper like this, but I did discover that you can write on it, and I recommend writing on it with a permanent marker such as this, just to make sure it's nice and clear. And I'm going to glue this right in this corner to finish off the card, add a touch of ribbon, and then we'll be finished. Okay, so I've just added this to kind of complement the ribbon on the front, and we are done with the card. You'll notice that I did not put a specific greeting on here just because I loved this. It would have made it too busy to add another greeting on here because there's already the words postcard here. Plus, the design of the paper is just so beautiful, especially when you color it in, that I wanted that to be the star of the show. So the card is finished. The front's got lots of color, and I left this background white because I thought it popped nicely against this sienna suede paper. Here's the inside, so you're getting a blast of the color, burnt sienna, and this is where you'll write your greeting, and there's the complimentary Color Me piece on the corner as well as the ribbon. So I hope you enjoyed this anytime, any occasion card. Stay tuned for the bundle and the savings bundle, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching. This week's bundle includes the Color Me Ebony Nostalgia paper pack, and this is a sampler, so it has one each of 6 designs. This is the first sheet. They're all 12 by 12, and they've got the raised embossed design on them, which is what the Color Me is, so that you can color them whatever color you wish and customize it to your project. Here's the second design. We have an Oliver postcard, and you could even cut these apart and use them separately. We've got an Oliver butterfly, a very pretty and unique looking stripe, and of course we have the labels and border sheet. So a lot of different sizes and options. You could use these for journaling on, you could use them for titles, names, greetings, just a couple of ideas. Also, we have the sienna colored suede paper, nice and fuzzy, and the steampunk ribbon set, which comes with a dozen different kinds of ribbon, and they each have a yard, so lots of, save this for many other future projects you might use them on. And those are the items in this week's bundle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week.